Welcome to Philly Coco presents Saw Project Spotlight, episode 59. It's a developer's journey into making cool stuff. I am Kotaro.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are Philly Coco, a Philadelphia-based Coco Heads community focused on Apple development. That primarily, but not exclusively, means iOS, Mac, tvOS, watchOS, and visionOS development. Philly Coco's true desire is to take you higher on your own developer journey.
Nice. Almost got it.
Almost got it.
There are like 59 tries.
Slipped up. Yeah, just got. Yeah. You think after 59 tries, I would like nail it a little more?
It's pretty good. It's
all right. So Steve, what are we talking about today? What's been going on in the world of Apple news?
The only thing apparently that's been going on is Vision Pro. So we're going to talk about that again.
Don't you mean Vision Bros?
Vision Bros. Yes, it's a good name, good title actually.
Sure,
we might have our title for this. So the reason we're talking about it again, I know we just talked about it, is because two of the three of us here in the trio have some hands-on experience with it. Kotaro more than myself, but I actually got the demo last night. So I have some thoughts as well after ruminating about it overnight. And Aaron, I'm sure, still has some opinions, but they're not quite.
Get rid of the eyesight. That's Aaron's opinion.
That is a good opinion. I'm sorry. The eyesight. Oh, I could talk about the eyesight thing. I don't know how we want to structure this because I got thoughts about everything, including like some of the YouTuber reviews that I've seen and like my direct experiences. And the eyesight thing, Aaron, that's one of the things that I have thoughts on.
All right. Well,
I'm looking forward to it.
This might be a ranty one a bit. I mean, not like in a bad way, I think. I have pluses and minuses, pros and cons about this kind of thing.
All right. So at least go into your, like, I kind of experienced it I've had a similar experience as you, Steve, but in terms of experiencing what that was, but not necessarily through the Apple Store. So if you can describe your experience first.
Okay. So I booked an appointment like at 7:30 at night at my local Apple Store, which is actually probably a good time to do it because there was only one other person there getting a demo at the time. The experience is pretty straightforward. You come in, you go to a specific like table in the back, and someone brings out on like a special little tray the Vision Pro, puts it down, and then the employee uses, looks like an iPhone SE, I think it was like one of the small ones, to scan your face. Not, surprisingly, not the Vision Pro itself. I know if you have it at home, right, it scans your face, right? Mm-hmm. But no, instead, he used I think it was an SE, it was a small iPhone. And so I had to scan my face, do the same thing like you do with Face ID a couple times. We got that done. And he's holding, I think, an iPad, like an iPad mini or something too, or some iPad. So he could see what you're seeing and direct you through the experience. And then you just sit at this table, and then you put he tells you how to pick it up. I'm very specific about how to pick it up. You put your thumb underneath the nose part and your fingers on top, and you grab it from the front glass first. Because if you pick it up from the wrong part, the little magnetic parts will slip off. Anyway, so it also comes out with a cover on it. I guess that's obvious if you have one, but there's this nice cover on the front of the glass because apparently it can scratch. Anyway, but you grab it, and it was with the what's the default headband? It had that on there. Do you know what it's called?
Default. Oh, you mean
the ones in the ads? The ones in the ads. The one that just goes around the back of your head.
The single loop headband.
Yeah, single loop.
Yeah.
So it's a single loop, and that's actually for the first thing I noticed about it is it's the easiest thing to put on and off. That band is super, super easy. You just pick it up, you stick the thing on your face, you tighten the one side, and you're done.
Can you flip it like they can in the Meta ads? I don't know if you've seen those Meta ads.
No, well, no, would they flip it around? No.
Like, it's like, look at us. They flip it on. And I was like, whoa, that seems pretty dangerous.
So the way that the employees were gingerly handling this thing, I think I was not going to mess around with it. The battery is also obviously attached to the side, and that's kind of was like on the table. And you're supposed to, and you sit down when you do this, by the way, and I think that's a good thing, because once you're in the middle of this thing, you really wouldn't want to be walking around during parts of this. So you'd bump into stuff. But so you put it on, and then you go through the introduction that anyone who owns one has already gone through, I think, where you have to look at some little colored circles, and it's to do the eye tracking, and then everything gets in your hands, and then it gets you get set up. One of the first things I noticed once I'm actually in it proper was how I couldn't see anything because there was people across over the table from me obscuring everything. It wasn't rendering. I thought something was wrong with my eyes or something at first, but I think it was just there was people there in front of me. So the initial like boot up sequence, where it's like welcome or whatever like draws there, it was like trying to draw it at a distance where it's literally overlapping with the people on the other side of the table. I kept having a problem. This is just because the Apple Store way it's laid out. I kept having a problem trying to find somewhere to look where there wasn't people there, like obstructing my view or getting in the way of the virtual things. But that was more just my particular thing. But once you got through that, the thing I noticed was the eye tracking is superb. I mean, it's truly remarkable, and just everything I looked at, and I immediately picked it up. I didn't have any problems understanding how to look at things and pinch and zoom and all that stuff. He walks you through the gestures, the employee, but I already knew what they were, and I had no problems picking up. I thought it was very, very intuitive, at least if you understand the concept of looking at something and then grabbing it with your fingers, pinching. I found that was really very comfortable to do, and I like that. It's very smooth. It's much smoother than like the limited experience I had with a Meta. It was a Quest 2, not equivalent, but
wait, the one that we were messing in Side Project Saturday, that was 2. Okay.
That was a 2. And that one has controllers, which are good for games. But as for like using a controller to point to things and click a button, no, that was a lot more annoying than Vision Pro was.
It just kind of remind me, at least the Meta Quest stuff, remind me a lot of like if the Switch controllers in the Joy-Con mode, like if the only way you can use the Joy-Cons was like one in each hand.
Yeah.
That felt like that kind of experience.
Yeah. So because I have them so close together, I had in my mind a little bit about that brief Meta experience. And the Meta controllers are great for games, especially because we were playing that Supernatural game and it felt like you're actually holding something, you're swinging around. But for interacting,
looks so
stupid.
It looked ridiculous.
It looks stupid. Everybody looks stupid with these things on.
Yeah.
But so we went through.
I had hackers flashbacks.
Oh yeah, that hacker scene is iconic. It just ages like a fine wine. That scene.
Aaron, have you seen Hackers?
Yeah, but it's been a few years, so I don't remember.
Do you remember when the bad guy was in his like VR headset? I forgot his name.
No, I don't remember. I can't remember his name.
Yeah. Well, he's there's a scene where I think the FBI agent, the corrupt guy, comes in or something, and he sees the bad guy on his VR headset, like going like punching space and like looking like he's getting hit, acting like he's getting hit. It's like
which is not how it actually works in VR games, but it's hilarious.
But it was hilarious
nonetheless. Yeah.
So
anyway,
the experience is apparently very similar to what people walk through with the WWDC. Apparently, so you go and you it shows you how to open windows and like open Safari. Safari was nice. I could make that really big window. Text rendering was really sharp in the Apple Store anyway. Like, one of the things I've seen people complain about is the pass-through mode. Now, the pass-through mode does not look like real life. It looks like you're like two things I noticed about the whole experience is it never left my sensation that I was looking at screens.
Yeah. And videos I've watched of the pass-through mode looks like a render. Like the real world they're looking at looks like a render to me but that was just a video on what it looks like on a screen recording or whatever.
Yeah, so
that
in
that
person
actually is part of the problem.
In person it's better than the recordings you've seen, but I mean it's clearly still a camera, but it really helps how much light there is. Like the Apple stores are super bright, so it was pretty good, but I was like, okay, I'm still looking at a screen. And one of the things you cannot ignore is that it always felt like I was looking through binoculars or those things you'd see on the end of a pier or something. The binoculars on the stand. You put a quarter in, you would look through. It felt like that the whole time because it's like you're looking through a tunnel into something. It never felt like I was in a world or anything like that. Even when the most immersive stuff, it never felt like I was in anything. It just looked like I was kind of peering around through these goggles. The lack of field of vision is actually very, very distracting. Maybe you get used to it if you're in it for a while, but I never got used to that. It makes it kind of hard to use. I would think it'd make it kind of hard to use for certain experiences because you have to turn your head more than you think. You can't just like turn your eyes. You have to turn your whole head to see. But that's it's kind of a limitation. But
does that ruin the whole movie theater experience?
No,
it's kind of the only reason I would buy it.
I don't think it ruins it. I think a movie theater experience is probably one of the best reasons to buy the thing.
Yeah.
You don't get to go real deep into that. You only get to do a few minutes of that. But I did see, for instance, I saw a clip of the Mario Brothers movie in a window. I think, and I think we tried to immerse on different things, but I saw it in a window. And what was cool about that was it looked like really good theater 3D, maybe better than the stuff you see in a theater. It looked like a window, and then inside the window was a 3D world, just like the experience you would have in most theaters. Like that's how that movie. I don't know if that's how all the 3D movies
was. Was that a 3D movie?
I think it was because I mean,
okay.
It seemed like a 3D movie. It was very brief, and I also saw this. I saw some other clips in there that were 3D. The more immersive 3D stuff, I wasn't actually that impressed by. At first, they showed some photos, like you see regular photos, and that's where you really notice that you're looking at a screen and it's blowing things up way huge because it's impossible not to see the fuzziness and the noise in the images because they're not high enough resolution. I think
we talked about this last time.
Yeah,
I think.
Did we?
You need some like super high resolution.
Yeah. So this is what happens. So you go into like immersion mode.
You need a terabyte.
Yeah, so you go to the panoramic version of a picture, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat. But it just, to me, it looked like I was just looking at a picture. It didn't feel like I was there, and part of it was because you could just tell it's a photo. And then we did some of the a video, and I know some people were impressed by these 3D videos, the immersive ones. Like there was some clips, like this woman singing at a piano. Is that a famous person? I do not know.
Is that Alicia Keys?
I have no idea.
Was that from the Apple TV or it might not have been?
I think everything was from the Apple TV app, pretty much. But it was like there was a demo reel, someone like on a mountain on a tightrope, and a singer, and I was like, okay, this is where you would want to use something like this. It's kind of cool, but also kind of awkward looking. Maybe it's just because no one knows how to quite film this stuff yet. But it was like too in your face. And everything gets distorted very quickly on the edges.
I will say, if it was the Alicia Keys thing, my first instinct was like, man, that bottle of water is like right up in my face.
Yeah. So
which is on the piano. I was like, whoa.
Neat.
It is neat.
It's neat, but it's like I don't know if I want to watch a whole concert like that. But they did a brief thing with some sports clips in there, like a camera above a soccer at a soccer game or football. If you're
you know what, I need to explain. I need to test that one out then.
Okay, so there was the one that had apparently had a like a 3D camera or something or some camera on top of the net, so you had a net view, and it was very brief, but that was pretty cool. And I think they did a lot of stuff kind of goes by in a blur, but some of the sports segments gave you a tiny hint of what we were talking about before, where you can have the best seat in the house.
Right.
And see, the baseball thing. I thought the baseball one was the least useful because I didn't know what that was supposed to be looking at because it was like down low and then like home plate was way over to the left and then someone was trying to run and I was like, and there was the pitcher was like way out there in the distance. Like, what am I supposed to be looking at? But it was kind of cool because it did feel much more like you were there. Some of these things work better than others. I feel like, depending on the type of camera, where your angle was and what was happening. So that was cool. And then, let's see, we did the tightrope walking one, I think was supposed to be scary, but the problem with it was like everything in those 3D ones, the ones were really like up close 3D, like you're supposed to be feeling you're there, like on a mountain. It just felt like there's this tunnel vision and everything very, very quickly gets distorted on the edges of your vision.
Yeah.
Because that's how 3D stuff works. So the other ones that were 3D that are
it also uses that like foveated rendering. I don't know.
Okay, the foveated rendering thing is cool. You do not notice it.
But was it you didn't notice it or you did?
No, you did not. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying maybe it's because it wasn't rendered off on the sides. That's possible, but in real life, your vision kind of works like that, where it's focused and then the rest is...
Right, maybe it wasn't aligned for you or something with you.
Yeah, I thought about that. I thought maybe the thing wasn't quite aligned. I mean, maybe I need glasses. I don't think so. I do have a dominant eye, but most people have a dominant eye, and it's only slightly off, like, between the two.
When you say dominant, you mean like one that is much sharper than the other one?
Yeah, like if you ever do one of these tests, like you put your hand out in like a circle around something like a doorknob from a distance, and you center the doorknob in it, and you slowly pull it back to your nose, and then you'll find out that and you close one eye and you open the other one, you'll see that your hand will be like right over top of your dominant eye when you do back and forth. Anyway,
see me doing it right now.
Yeah, it's right there. Well, it's usually the same as your dominant hand, and so what happens is like one eye will be basically slightly stronger than the other eye. So anyway, that's what I understand. Anyway, I'm not an eye doctor. But I don't think it was me. I think it was just the nature of the technology, nature of the videos, because it looked like a lot of 3D videos I've seen before in other respects, where it's things just are a little bit distorted around the edges because of the nature of that kind of technology.
Just so we're clear, you don't need glasses, right?
Not that I'm aware. No.
Or do you?
No.
What's it?
No.
All right.
Okay, so but other things looked fine in 3D. I think it was just those videos I was noticing it like distorted a little bit on the sides. They look cool though.
I think they just have kind of like a narrow field of view or something.
It's very narrow.
Doesn't fill the field of view, even a already narrow.
Yes,
probe.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it does feel that way. I will concur that. Yeah,
and I think that's probably what it was. So it's very impressive though. And then the one that everyone was talking about, of course, is the what do they call the 3D photos and videos you can take with your iPhone?
Spatial videos?
The spatial stuff. Okay. The spatial stuff. He was really trying to say, oh, look how cool the spatial stuff was. And I was like, okay, it's okay. It's kind of cool. I mean, they make Apple's marketing makes it out to be like, if you feel like you're really there. I'm like, I feel like I'm looking at a fuzzy 3D movie and I'm thinking to myself, did the person recording this like have the freaking thing on his face while he was doing this, like there's one with a birthday cake that actually made me feel bad. Okay, so there's a clip in there where it's like you're looking over a birthday cake, I think at some young girl's birthday party, and she's blowing out the candle or something, and it's a first-person perspective, and I'm like, am I supposed to be taking the perspective of the father here? Is he really, like, in this moment, recording this with the hand? I think we talked.
Show that was it was in like the introduction video. That was.
Yeah,
the other side of that video, like
okay,
the
and
I'm
guy,
like filming that. And I was like, this looks terrible.
We talked about this. We talked about how in the 80s or the 90s, how we had dads would have the big camcorders and stuff. Yeah, but I'm like, this is different though. I feel like I living it from that first person perspective, it doesn't feel right. It feels like I should probably just be in the moment.
I still have to figure this out. But is it to record a video? Do you press down and hold, or do you press it and then like confirm with like a click or?
I don't know because that wasn't part of the demo to actually record something.
Record something.
But anyway, the spatial video things and the spatial photos, they're neat, but it's like, I don't know, it's neat, but it's like it's kind of also everything that's 3D lacks like fidelity because it's 3D. You know what I mean? So like the edges will be weird or fuzzy, or because it's the spatial video, it has this weird kind of like effect around the edges, and it looks kind of it's like zoom blur. Yeah, it looks cool.
Zoom effect.
Yeah, I mean maybe I just don't know how to use it right or zoom it enough. It looks cool, but I mean, I would rather have like a really high resolution photo of an event. Maybe that's just the photographer in me. I'm like, I see all the imperfections about this.
I was about to ask. It's like, you sure it's just not
maybe
just the photographer in you? Just like,
yeah. And no, but it all kind of seems weird. It looks weird to me, except for the things that look the best were the things that are totally artificial. So the dino experience you do at the end, the dinosaur experience, that's the coolest trick that the thing has. It showed. It was like the things I was most impressed by were that and like text rendering. Oh, and I did do some fully immersion, a little bit of a full immersion, like you're like on a lake or you're on a mountain or something. Again, I was like, it just didn't look quite high res enough to be believable in the ones that they gave me.
Your eyesight is just too good.
Is it too good?
Your eyes are like super dominant or something.
It's too good. Well, it's just because everything just looks. You could see like everything just looks like it's a photo. It's like a blown up photo. It's a little pixelated.
Sure.
It looks fine. It looks fine.
You're the first person I've heard that said it looked pixelated. So,
yeah. I mean, my eyes are too sharp.
I haven't seen that many reviews. But.
I mean, not like pixelated, but you could tell that it like noise. Maybe there's a little bit of noise in there. I guess you can tell. You can tell it's a photo. That's what I mean. Like maybe it's just me because I'm used to looking at photos. But like I immediately go like, okay, this is a photo, and that's fine. But it's still a photo. Looks like a photo you took a panoramic photo on an iPhone is what it looked like, which is good, but it's not meant to be seen like the size of a building.
One one thing I am kind of curious is that those environments, those are photos, they're not video, right? Because they do add spatial audio in like select ones. So like,
oh yeah,
I think for like the mountain one, you can actually, if you say something, it will actually have an echo.
Oh, I heard that. I didn't get to do that because it's like a noisy Apple store.
Yeah,
The volume was maxed out. It did sound good though. The spatial audio was really good considering it was just maxed out open audio. So I mean, I'm not saying they were bad. They were cool, but like I didn't spend. I think if you spent more time in the headset, you'd probably get used to it, and then you'd kind of adjust to it, and then it wouldn't feel like fake. But I'm saying the things that looked the coolest, not the full immersion. I tried to quickly go into theater mode to try that out, but we had to move. He moved me on, so I didn't get to do the theater mode. But there's a theater mode where you can pick what seat you're in, and so when the Vision Pro is set up, when you're supposed to go full immersion and it makes everything dark, that's when it works better. Like the bright scenes didn't work so well for me, maybe because I was in a bright room. I don't know, but when it goes fully dark, considering that I was in an Apple store, you know how bright they are, it worked remarkably well. Like I did not notice significant light bleed. I felt like everything I felt like I was completely like I was like enclosed. Like there was no sensation of the outside world when it went in there. It's actually kind of unsettling. If you were doing that and not sitting down, you could probably fall over.
Actually, I agree. With like if you turn on immersion mode.
Yeah, that's what we did.
And then like
full immersion.
Full immersion. And I was just like, I was like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know if that's the one where you can or you can't see your hands. There's a moment in one of these demos where it's like your hands disappear, they hide. That might be the one with like Alicia Keys or something.
Yeah, I don't think there was any hands in the video.
I think the environment ones are fine. The immersive ones are fine. It's just one of those it is sort of funny of like, oh, like I better sit down because like I have no idea what's going on in my surroundings.
Well, yeah, he had I mean, you're supposed to sit down for it. You take a seat for the whole thing, which is smart. So we did that, but then the other thing was what was really cool. The dinosaur thing is probably the most like realistic 3D in there because it wasn't trying to be a photorealistic thing. Like I feel like one of the issues is like, I think it's like an uncanny valley kind of effect going on, where when they give you the panoramic photo or the videos or the spatial video or whatever, it's all like a little uncanny valley to me. And so I'm like, okay, this is cool, very cool, but it's not. It doesn't feel real. And the dinosaur thing doesn't feel real, but it looked like. The dinosaur looks like a really good video game dinosaur is like literally there in a way that I've never seen before, especially when it pops through the window into your space with other people there and stuff, and it blends in so perfectly that it's really impressive. I mean, it looks like a video game because it is, but it looks like a video game literally in real life. And that's the thing that I thought was most impressive about it. I feel like if you don't lean too much into like we have to make this feel like it's 100% real, it actually works a little better because it doesn't because you can, I guess because you're just used to seeing video. I'm used to seeing video game stuff, and like that doesn't like trigger my uncanny valley senses or anything. It wasn't like but the dinosaur thing was cool, and like the employee is like, put your finger out, something might happen. He's like, put your finger out, something might land on it. It's like, oh, there's a butterfly. Where's that guy gonna go? He's very energetic. They have a script and everything. Sure. But that's a part where I maybe wasn't aligned right with my eyes, because once that thing got close to my finger, it was close to my face. Like I started having trouble seeing it as a 3D object. It started like shifting. Like I think it was like my eyes were out of sync or something, or it's too close to my face. Maybe it was just too close to my face. But it was cool. The dinosaur thing is the coolest looking thing in the demo. That's what you do very at the end. And the audio is also the other thing that's really impressive. Like, even I think I could easily get used to the tunnel vision if you're watching a movie, especially because the audio sounds better than any theater I've ever been in. There's nothing quite like it for entertainment purposes because it's just the best spatial audio, like surround sound that I've ever experienced. And it's just two little speakers next to your ear, but because it's done so well and they're right there. And you don't have any kind of like echoing happening, like you're in a big theater. There's no one else making noises. Even in an Apple store, I didn't hear anything. I asked him at the end, how loud was the volume on that? Because I didn't hear anything. He said, oh, that was max. But it didn't hurt my ears. But it was like, if you're at home alone, you won't need to turn it up that loud. But in an Apple store, there's music playing in the Apple store when they're doing this demo. You know, like there's sound playing, right? There's like people walking around talking, and I didn't hear anything. So the immersion for a movie experience is probably its main selling point. If you have a bunch of money, and you want to like sit alone in your room watching movies, because that's the thing about it. It's the downside. It's very isolating. You know.
Yeah, I will say this in the sense that when they talk about why is there no multi-user, that kind of stuff. I mean, the environment almost encourages that like personalized experience.
Yeah.
And so, you know, everything from the hardware down to the software feels like it's for one person.
Yeah. And
like
I didn't get to test. Can you, if you arrange windows around somewhere and you take the thing off, when you come back on again, do you have to just start over again, rearranging everything?
I don't think so. If it's you that's the user. If you're a guest user,
yeah, you do that.
It just gets like you can only be a guest user for as long as you wear the headphones.
So because the other thing that's cool is flinging around windows and stuff. That was really fun, and just and making like nice. I gotta tell you the text rendering really, really sharp. Like I brought a Safari window. I made it the size of like, I don't know, like a wall. I brought that thing pretty close to me, and like the letters must have been like a foot tall or something, or like, I don't know, at least inches tall. And it was all perfectly sharp to me. You couldn't tell. Like it looked like the best Retina screen. I didn't see any pixels at that point. Like it was rendered beautifully. I was able to read. Scrolling was really easy. The whole gesture for scrolling up and down is very easy. I like that's one of the experiences where if I was going to sit back and read something, you could make it completely comfortable regardless of your eyes, you know, because you can bring it as close as you want.
Did they let you go to YouTube?
No, did they let you? Have you been to YouTube? No, I didn't even.
Here's the embarrassing truth.
I don't think they let you go. On YouTube.
I was testing the device, but I don't. I was experimenting with the device for a little bit, but I didn't bother to like open up a browser.
Wow, the browser's the best. It's the best, man.
Part.
It is one of the best parts. The windows blend into the environment.
Not the best part.
Yeah, but like the things that this thing does really well. Windows apps really do look like they're just these things in the real world. They just sit there and don't freaking move. And text renders beautifully. And you can change the sizes of things very fluidly. You can move them closer and farther away. And if you can arrange all of your apps in Windows and then come back and it properly restores them in place, that'd be great. Then that makes it a really potentially useful if you wanted to have like a bunch of apps up out there. That's really cool. And of course, watching movies, especially 3D movies, but any kind of movie because of the good sounds and the complete immersion you can get, where you block out the whole world. They're probably the two coolest things that you could do with this. The other stuff struck me as a little bit gimmicky. But
the
neat,
other thing that I don't think any of us had a chance to do was test the external monitor.
No,
feature.
I didn't get to see that. There was someone else there testing, but it was always like the blue haze in front of her face. I did not get to see the eyes, although I did talk to the employee afterwards a little bit, and we were like, "Oh, I wonder if I'm going to make it cheaper." And I was like, "They're probably going to get rid of the goofy eyes." And
so Aaron, tell us how you really feel.
I think we've been over this enough times.
No, but I thought about it again today because I saw a YouTube video about it. I think it might have been the Max Tech ones. Is that the right one? I saw one of those tech guys who was going over it, and one of the things in the video was talking about the eyesight. Is that what it's called? Eyesight. Said it let him have eye contact, and two of the scenarios described were at work with the other guys, and they could look towards each other at their desk. And then the other, I was like, okay. Then the other one was sitting down at a table to eat eat a brownie or something with the children around, and keeping the browser in front of them and putting it at the other side of the table. And I'm just like, and he's like, it's because of the eyesight. You can still kind of do that, and you're not like completely disconnected. I'm just thinking in my head, no, man. You're still totally disconnected from your family and your coworkers. You're not looking at each other's eyes. You're looking at screens. You're looking at a screen. They're looking at a screen, which is also looking at another screen. Everything is mediated through cameras and screens. There's no human contact. There's no eye contact. I was like, okay, people who are reviewing this are very excited about it. Great. They slip into these moments of dystopia without even realizing it, in my opinion, which I think is very funny. But the goofy eyes thing, I have no idea what the utility is really, honestly, for that.
Aaron, do you have any specific questions that?
For me,
for either of us.
Yeah, I don't know, but Steve, you said you didn't get to watch any movies in the full immersion.
I got to watch a little bit of immersion stuff. Like you got to see the clip show of the 3D. Got to see. He did have me go into immersion for some stuff. What was the one that was immersion? There was another clip.
Do you get the IMAX theater effect where you feel motion, or is it too narrow a field of view for that?
So it goes by real fast. I never felt like I was having motion sickness or anything like that.
Not motion sickness, but just that feeling of you're moving because it's filling up so much of your field of view.
No, because
you said it's too narrow, right?
No, well, in the brief, when I was messing around with it a little bit, and I did briefly get the actual theater mode up. There's different immersion modes for these things, I guess. Mm-hmm. So you can have just immersion where it's really big, but there's a theater mode where it looks like a theater kind of there's a theater screen way in front of you. So it's not it's really, but
it's really far away. It's
it was
it's.
Yeah, it was in the brief time I was in that mode. I believe the reason I was trying to get in there is I heard that you can adjust where your seat is, so maybe you can get a seat that's closer, and then you would be it'd be more of your field of view. But in any case, it can't. The problem with it is, even if you got right up to it, you would still have this black circle around your vision. It's always a tunnel vision. It's always a little bit of a tunnel vision.
It's that narrow.
That's put your hands around your eyes like goggles, and that's what it's like. You can always see in your periphery this blackness from the goggles,
it does literally if you've ever worn ski goggles, which I believe you have.
It's like ski goggles.
It's literally that kind of field of
view. Maybe V2 they'll have a wider field of view.
Oh,
I'm sure it eventually come.
The way this another comparison between this and the Meta Quest 2. I don't know anything about the 3. The 2 is a manual adjustment for the eyes. The distance of the eyes, you just kind of click them, move them. This thing, it does everything automatically for you when you do that initial adjustment, and it's really cool that it does that. I gotta say,
that sounds like an unnecessary feature to remove for the non.
Well, that's just strictly for
no, I mean for it calibrates
your
calibrating
to your eye.
Yeah, that's
the
what I mean.
Outside one.
The outside one we get rid of. Yeah, I'm saying the calibration.
You're assuming that automatic calibration is better than just sliding them together.
Oh yeah, well, I don't know what else it's doing besides that, but it does does adjust things, and I don't know what else it does. What software calibration there is? I think it's still doing
the software calibration is necessary, but I think it actually moves the lenses.
It does because I didn't touch the lenses. It had to have moved them somewhere to get them aligned, right? So that was cool, and the the scanning the face things didn't work. I didn't get to try Persona, obviously. There was no time for that, so I don't know.
It doesn't matter. It looks terrible.
Do you see? I saw the beta. I saw just a tweet for a post on X.
1.1?
Yeah, I saw a post from Snazzy Labs who thinks it might look a little better. He said he looks less like Stalin. Which is really funny.
It could also be that they did he did a better scan. I think sometimes these people do a horrible job of scanning, or they're in bad lights or whatever, or they're in my room or something and trying to do these scans.
Step one, go to a photography studio.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. So, and the pass through, I know a lot of people have been harping on the pass through is not great. As I said, I mean, I could tell I'm looking through a camera, but it doesn't look as bad as some of those videos you see online, especially in a bright room. It really depends on your environment. I imagine if you're in a darker room, you'll notice it more, but in a bright room, like in an Apple store, or so I didn't have any problems with everything just looked sharp enough. Like text and stuff all look sharp, windows look sharp.
I think one of the things that will be interesting is over time, the demos probably are not enough to really let that thing sink in terms of usage, or how real use case what am I going to use this damn thing for?
Well, that's a problem. Well, see, I was thinking about that too, and here's the problem with that. This demo is meant to entice me to buy the product. There is nothing else. This is what Apple decided is it's the best presentation of this device that they can provide to you, a customer, in a reasonable amount of time, without to entice you to buy it. if this is not enough to make me want to buy it, then what is? There, like, the only other thing I could do is to like borrow someone's for a period of time or something, or you know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, I heard this before. Like, it's better if you wear it for a while, you start. But if you have to wear it for a while in order to want to buy it, are you sure there's enough of a reason to buy it? You know, it's like it's maybe the product is just inherently difficult to, as you said, demo sufficiently.
I mean, that I agree with. Yeah. But I also think like it is pretty much. It's very much a series 0 in the sense like it's not quite known just yet of how people are going to take to the device, and it's going to take at least 2 to 3 iterations before Apple settles on Apple understands where the market is for it.
But I if you don't mind, I want to talk a little bit though about the dystopian angle of all this.
Okay, because
not to be a downer and everything, but there's a lot of irrational exuberance about the idea of sticking a thing on your face and living your life, totally having 2 of your most important senses completely mediated by a piece of technology. Mm-hmm. And we already have many problems. People have many problems in their lives that have developed because they cannot use the existing technology like phones and social media, you know, in a deliberate way that enriches their lives instead of causing problems. And this is even more potentially like addictive and immersive for those types of people than phones are, especially children. I have a real fear here that this is going to do even more damage to kids than iPhones and social media have, because there's been a great deal of damage done by having those devices be readily available and put in the hands of kids. And, you know, there's a lot of evidence, so it's not going to go into a debate about it, but I feel like I've seen it firsthand myself. I've read the research. There's a strong case to be made that, like, for instance, you shouldn't give kids phones until, like, they're 16 or older. Like, they shouldn't even have access to it. And social media is another thing. So this stuff, though, is even more potentially immersive. And the problem is we keep making technology that is more and more focused on the like an individual's experience. Like iPhone, the iPad, now this, it's all about like an individual alone consuming content and stuff. And this is like the epitome of that, because even when you're doing something that's normally communal, like watching a movie in your living room, you're watching it by yourself, even if people are around you. Even if other people are wearing the device, you're not actually like interacting directly with them. You're interacting through some hardware and screens and layers of software. And I just don't think that's a healthy way to live. I think like you need to touch grass, you know, and I feel like this is going to make it even harder for people to go touch grass. They're going to be touching the virtual grass and not the real grass.
Come on, man. Have you seen that mountain view?
I know. That's what I mean. Like people are like, I am touching grass. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
You know, I just don't have the
space,
smell.
Baby.
People are going to like sell some kind of a smell thing adapter, you know, to like
that's not a bad idea.
To give the smell of grass.
Now you're thinking like an entrepreneur.
And then if you look at like some of the videos that have gone out, obviously
we should get like a scent generator, right?
I'm telling you,
and maybe wirelessly have it hooked up to my Vision Pro, and then maybe have the app in the background or something like that. And then like when I'm in immersive space, just you know, just a little bit of that iResent or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, what's funny, amusing about all this to me is even when in high school in like the late 90s, I was saying you should not be including like computers, like old-fashioned computers, in the classroom for kids until a certain age. Like I said, it doesn't. I was like, I remember looking at the research way back then, and there was like no educational benefit, but there was a lot of harm being done. You know, like, and I think history has shown that the critics of this technology, especially when introducing it, like, you know, without a lot of forethought to younger people, has been a real negative on a lot of lives. And I just hope that this time, because I think this is an inevitable trend, this technology, and if it continues to get better, it'll catch on. I just hope people are just more cautious and more conscious about using it themselves and introducing it to their children, and that you know, it doesn't become like a thing where everybody has to have one, like in all the schools. There's like a vision divide or something, and then everybody has to. Then we just have this like race to give kids, you know, even more, you know, isolating devices. You know,
I feel like the cost to entry is already a huge
right
barrier,
now,
so.
sure. But I mean,
Yes, so
you know,
I don't think we have to worry about that for about at least a couple years.
Yeah, that's true. And the end goal, I think, in a lot of minds, including Tim Cook's, seems to be optical AR.
Sure.
Which has, I guess, somewhat like less of an issue. I'm still don't think that's necessarily like a huge difference, because you're still, if you're layering things on my problem with all this stuff is we saw that dystopian video that went around. I think it was from like 2015 or something. It was from
the one with like all the ads.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's not even that new, right? It was an older
UI
one.
And
HUDs, the UI, and then there was a weird subplot about losing points. I don't know what that was.
Yeah,
but if you layer,
like, do you remember that Ryan? I was like, who's the guy that plays Deadpool?
Yes, yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was called
Ryan, and then it was like he's an NPC in that.
None of us can remember his name. What is wrong with
him? He's like in this game where it's basically like
it was called what the heck was that movie called?
I forget.
But
basically a players that come into his game because he's an NPC. They all wear these glasses, these AR glasses or whatever, and he happens to get one of those, and like the world is completely different.
Yeah, and so that's the dystopian kind of view. You don't like. I feel like people today increasingly just want to not see reality in so many aspects of their lives, and we just keep providing technology that makes it easier and easier to just shut out all the things that make life worth living, and make human flourishing possible. We just keep creating these tools that make it too easy for people to just distract themselves into oblivion. And the worst case scenario is you have something like this, which covers your senses and then overlays reality with, like a video game aesthetic or whatever aesthetic, maybe transports you to another world that you find more enticing. And now you never want to leave. And then you're missing out on reality, which I think is actually richer than anything we could do with computers. But
I think that's a fair critique.
It's a fear. Yeah, it's like that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you ban the technology or anything. I think it's cool, and if this thing was like $3,000 cheaper, I'd buy one. But it's
$3,000.
I mean, $500 for sure, $1,000 maybe, $1,500, $2,000 probably not. But it's like I'd buy it. It's just that I feel like it could go wrong. It can go so very wrong. And we just lived through this with phones. And I think people don't fully appreciate that unless you are, maybe if you're a parent, you appreciate that, or if you know parents, or if you've seen how these devices have affected kids over the last like 10 years. You maybe have you have that kind of perspective. And I just hope people are a little more cautious about this.
They're not going to be.
I know, that's my fear. They're not going to be, and it's like,
I mean, the one thing that slightly disappoints me about like the iPad is that it's turned into a glorified babysitter in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the iPad. The
it's
iPad,
a fantastic babysitter. It's phenomenal, but it's still like a substitute.
Yeah.
The one thing that I personally hope, as somebody that likes to build this stuff, is much more about tools that are useful versus just tools that you use to consume.
Well, exactly. And this is kind of another kind of part of this, the way this has been rolled out is like, if you intentionally use these tools, like I intentionally use Macs and iPhones and iPads and things. So I don't believe I'm swept up in the negative aspects of this. I use them for productive reasons. I use them to make my life better. I think they help me to do things I couldn't otherwise do and help me have a more flourishing life. But I do it with intentionality. I think about what I'm using. What am I consuming? I think about what I'm consuming, because what you consume can affect you. So, so I don't mindlessly consume things. I don't mindlessly scroll. I use the technology with purpose and intent. And if you do that, I think this kind of thing is fine. It could be great, and it could be a real improvement in your life. But the way it's being introduced right now, this version 1 is the most compelling experiences are all about isolated entertainment consumption. And I'm just like, that's fine in small amounts. But if that's the primary thing you're pushing on this, and that's the thing that everybody's going to try to do, like, where's the incentive to make other experiences? Maybe it's just too early. But like
the problem is, in many ways, the tooling is still very, everybody's still kind of stuck. Yeah, very rudimentary.
So you've actually tried to. So I've only used a simulator. Mm-hmm. You have used the simulator in conjunction with some hardware, right? You can say that much. What about how does it work? How does the tooling work with actual hardware versus just simulator?
You would definitely have, if you don't have the $300 dongle.
Yeah, there's a $300 developer strap
to connect the USB-C to USB-C and then to your laptop. You're gonna have to do it wirelessly. Which, if you've developed for Apple TV or WatchOS, it's not too unfamiliar. The challenge I find with it at the moment is like trying to integrate 3D assets seem to be a bit of a struggle at the moment. I'm not entirely sure.
Is it a file format thing, or is it just doesn't render them right, or what's the?
No, it just doesn't.
Has Unity released their tools yet, or no?
They've released a beta. I don't know.
You have to pay for that, right? Like extra.
Yeah, you have to be. My understanding, and I might be wrong of this, is that you need a pro account to get access to the beta.
Yeah.
For what they call polyspatial.
Polyspatial. Okay.
Yeah, but that if you were going to build a fully immersive experience, in that like a video game, basically a first-person shooter being a primary example, you would probably want to build it in polyspatial in Unity.
And you probably want to build it for MetaQuest.
Yeah.
Frankly.
In fact,
this does not feel like something I'd want to be jumping around in a video game with on. It felt comfortable enough to me, but it's so expensive and so like it's I don't know. I mean, like I've seen my nephew jump around with a Quest 2 and playing a first person shooter and the whole it was like that hacker scene. It really was. and I couldn't imagine doing that with this thing on. I'm afraid it would.
I've seen some people like some kids waving Beat Saber, their virtual, like their controls towards the television as they're about to knowing.
I'm in the Apple store with this having this experience, and like they put us on a table with a television 6 inches from me, so I keep smacking the television with my hand. Like, lucky I didn't smack it onto the floor because you can't see it's there.
Sure.
Once you're in immersion.
Yeah.
But so
I think I was lucky my cup of coffee was like.
Oh yeah. Don't have any kind of hot liquids or anything around you
at that time. I was like, oh, whew.
It's just don't go full immersion mode if you're gonna have drinks around you. Yeah. But do not do anything drink related near your. You see. I don't recommend. You see, iJustine went to a pool with it on, and she just kept everything above the water because it's not waterproof. And but it worked. It was able to put windows on top of water, which is actually kind of impressive when you think about it.
I mean, I get it, but I
wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. Maybe iJustine has some YouTube money, I guess. Like successful.
Well, she has YouTube money, so that's that.
It's okay if it gets shorted out or something. But I saw some video of someone taking a shower with one on. That couldn't be real. I was like, what? I can't be real. I don't know.
So Aaron, what would you do? Would you take it outdoors and go hiking with it,
like the Vision Bros are doing right now?
Oh, you think the Vision Bros are doing that? Something simple like that? They're going like driving their Cybertrucks in full automation mode while doing their Vision Pro stuff.
We're totally gonna call this episode Vision Bros, I think.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I am interested in, a couple things that I was experimenting on was trying, even just in the simulator, was just trying to get the game controller kit to work.
Right,
try to,
that'd be cool.
See if I can pull like a remote control, like you taking a virtual like remote control like drone.
Mixed reality gaming, man. That is going to be a big use case. It'll be fun.
But it doesn't support game controller in Vision Pro at the moment. I think it supports it in compatibility mode. It says it does.
Wait, what's compatibility mode mean? Like it'll work in a 2D app?
Like if you have your games targeted towards the iPad.
Yeah, it'll work on like iPad app. And
then it'll work through that, but it won't work through like any other means.
So I saw some, I don't know if it was a demo, I don't know what it was, but I saw something online where it would look like a toy car racing around a track thing. That was not a game then? It wasn't something you could control? Or you couldn't control with a controller?
That's a good question.
It might have been demo. Know. There's so much stuff floating around. I don't know what's real either.
I mean, I wanted like the one where like it's the F1 thing where you can track the F1. That was a concept one.
No, there was I saw some people. Again, this kind of goes both in this is cool and this is also dystopian. Was 2 people sitting at a table playing like Battleship or something.
Oh yeah,
and I'm just like, that's cool. And you are technically playing together. but you're also literally sitting at an empty table, not actually looking at each other because you're through screen. I was like, I'm currently still processing that one.
I would love to see like they show you the cool thing, right?
They did show the cool thing. It was neat.
And then they show you like the actual thing happening.
That's what they did though. That's what they did.
They did.
That's what I mean.
I didn't see the end.
There's a shot of them just like they're just waving their hands in the air. I think on an empty table in front of, and I'm like,
World's
okay,
most expensive board game.
Yeah, very expensive,
Yeah.
and.
Yes.
But that's kind of my thing. Like, what's dystopian about that for me is that it's a mediated experience through cameras and screens, and you're instead of just playing a freaking board game together, you're going through like thousands of dollars of equipment.
The experience better be way better than just.
So that's what's good about it.
You got to do something else. You got to do something extra besides just render a board game that you can buy for $20.
I only briefly saw it, but it was like a nice render and it like had effects and stuff, so it was cool. But yeah, if it's like a really interesting, so what I would be willing to do that for, especially if everybody had one of these things, is you'd want to have experiences that make it worth what I think is the cost. Even though not everybody's going to agree with me that there's like a cost to this, that there's something wrong with having mediated experiences all the time, but. I mean, like, it lets be something that's worthwhile putting this thing on at the very least and dealing with the slight hassle of that and maybe the discomfort of people seem to have sometimes. So I want a mixed reality experience that was something that you could not do any other way. You couldn't do with a regular board game, like you couldn't do with a regular video game. Those are the types of things that are going to make killer apps out of this line of products, not necessarily this particular one.
I'm actually more curious, and I hate that term. But
people like games.
Well, they do, but I think like. At least for this version, at least until Unity 6 fully comes out with full support for polyspatial, you're not going to see the games being ported over just yet. Okay. Plus, Unity needs to get their licensing thing in order.
You're going to see people basically watching movies on this thing because that's apparently the best thing.
Right, and I don't know if it necessarily works for like very high activity kind of experiences with Vision Pro, like. One of the things that you talked about was like this, it's you got your field of view is limited.
Yeah, it's very.
It's tooling, like there's very little support for Unity. One of the reasons why that a lot of games didn't come out day one is because Unity support was still in beta. So there's no like.
Did they make that dinosaur demo with Unity? You think?
That's a good question. I don't think they needed to.
What do you think they use? Just like standard,
just simple like standard metal shaders, just straight. It's just straight like you could even probably pull off a RealityKit and just.
I heard that I heard ARKit is very laggy.
It probably is.
Someone was saying it was like a 1 frame per second or something great for tracking stuff.
Interesting. I don't know too deep. I know like. It's hand gesture. There is some like lag between like what your hand is doing and like where it can track the hand gestures. That's one test that I also want to test is like, can I do one that will like that will show my my skeleton, when it does a hand gesture recognition, can I like map it to my fingers and then see that real time?
They had a demo. That was one of the demo apps. There was a demo app that used hand gestures.
You're right. So I need to test. I'm gonna actually test that.
It was very the code was very if I remember correctly, it was very. Oh man, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just like it was hand rolled and it was just brute force. Yeah. It's kind of like brute force code, as it were. I think.
Like they wanted to recognize a hand gesture like a heart shape.
Yeah, I think you had to kind of like define what a heart shape was in a bunch of arrays or something like that.
Well, the funny thing is like the only thing they were really testing is whether or not your index finger was connected to your both index fingers were connected and both your thumbs were connected. Okay, and then if you did like if you did an O shape. That was enough. It
was close enough to
fire the beam.
It's a demo, but it gave you an idea of how to program finger positions. That's what the hand positions.
Yeah,
that was a cool part
exactly.
So the building for Vision Pro. So you gotten any code to execute on the hardware?
I have a lot of I do have a lot of code to try to execute. I haven't been successful at like doing it. Partially because I have to set mines up in a specific way, so it's a little tricky for me. But the long-term thing that I want to eventually, I feel like for especially developers, even experienced developers, you're going to have to do baby steps to kind of get to what you're used to with maybe iPad development. Like even like if you don't have iPad development, all right, you're already a little bit behind. But then
I'm a little behind. Then I mostly iPhone.
Right, and then even then you have to do like, okay, like my UI may require a window that is resizable and multiple like infinite.
It might be like me, just make it the size of a building in front of you.
Right. Like you
how
have
will
to,
that
like,
look?
Figure out how to scale that, right? Or what's how do you control that?
So this is a thing I've been thinking about since since this came out, since I did my experiences. Like, do I want to buy one? And the thought that comes to my mind is, well, besides the entertainment value, I don't think that's enough to sell it for me because but can I make money on this? Like, what would I make for it? And I don't have. I've only had the 20-minute experience. I don't think that's enough, as you're saying. It's unfortunate that that's the best I can do right now, but it's not enough to give me a great sense of what I want to build on it. So I'm kind of relying on other people's secondhand experiences. So do you have any ideas in mind of something you want to build? I guess you were talking a little bit about tracking your hands for some stuff, and obviously when Unity comes out, you want to play around with it a little bit. But do you have any concrete ideas for like maybe a type of application that's not a game and not watching a movie that you think might be useful for indies specifically, for like an indie, like to make it worth buying for $4,000? You're like Aaron and myself, and we don't actually like make money.
Well, I'm actually kind of curious if Aaron has any particular ideas or
too.
like things he wants to test out to see if it's a.
I remember I wanted to test out stuff with like the physics engine of how.
Like stacking
3D
bricks
models,
or something.
Yeah, they had that demo of like stacking and knocking over bricks.
That would be cool. Yeah, I didn't get to try anything like that.
If you got that demo, send that my way.
I don't think they actually like published all the code. It was just like in a WWDC talk, and you had to like put it together yourself.
You know who has that code is Azam. Azam, who is this is sponsorship. Incidentally, Muhammad Azam is a good friend of ours, and he has a workshop that you can do for RealityKit. That I think it's an in-person, not in person, but like virtual in-person workshop,
like a Zoom
call. So $250. I forgot the exact time, but we'll post the link in our
in the show notes,
chat. But it's AzamSharp.com/school, I believe it is.
Or is it .school?
.school. Yes, I'm sorry. AzamSharp.school.
One of those new fancy TLDs.
I know. But anyway, I'm sorry. Where was I?
Well, you were saying blocks. You think he has the code for that? Because did he do that? Demo?
He did a free YouTube video around physics in ARKit.
Yeah.
Which he did in the iOS device, but all that is relatively transferable to Vision OS. So you could realistically take that code and then just utilize it to test for Vision OS. Because there's not too much in terms of like what you there shouldn't be. I should stress there shouldn't be too much to duplicate there.
So right now, like, would you buy one if you were still doing indie stuff? Would you definitely buy one and try to make something? Because I guess maybe you just need to have one in your possession to get a good idea. That's the thing I fear that I need to spend $4,000 in order to have enough experience with it to actually have an idea.
Yeah, if I had $4,000 just lying around, then I would probably buy one.
You first of all, you would want $4,000 on top of your billions, apparently. But
well, how long is this product going to be like usable anyway? Like how long until they replace it with version 2?
9 months.
I would give it.
God, please don't be 9 months.
I would give it.
Cry.
I don't think I'd be that.
No, all these people could just afford to buy another one. It's fine.
Sure.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, is it worth one of us buying one? Like, or like if we were all just
no,
if you were
probably
indie,
not.
Would you buy one right now, Kotaro?
Somebody's gonna have
to. If I was indie,
buy one and share it like a conch shell.
And if I was indie and I had a business plan that was like a real, like a product that I knew was feasible.
But it's hard to even develop it without having.
It's hard to have an idea. That's my point. It's like hard to have a good idea without having enough experience using it to see its pros and cons and what might actually work, because I only got 20-minute demo. I didn't get to use it at home in my home environment, see what that's like, or use it with a Mac, which I hear is really cool to have a 4K screen up in front of you. That I would love to try that with like Lightroom, see how well that works.
Just spend $4,000 worth of monitors.
Just do it.
It'll be way better.
It is. It's like I could just rationalize it as it's like buying multiple monitors.
Just buy $4,000. Yeah, like you said.
Although you can only have one. You can only have one Mac monitor, at least on the consumer version of this, apparently.
I think
that's what I mean. Just buy like a bunch of real monitors for Mac, and it'll be better.
And then use that as just imagine that they're just floating in space.
I think the real challenge is, I guess, like if you're indie, it's hard to recommend it as of right now, unless you have let's say you have an existing business, and you think that this can help your existing business, whatever product, right? Like I could see something like a 3D Procreate would be really cool. Maybe you'd build that engine entirely specific for 3D versus like 2D. That takes time, and that would actually take hardware.
Yeah.
And you'd want to test that out, right? You'd want to you'd want to see just what the hardware can do.
I mean, that's my thing. So if you're like, does this feel like the early days? Because I didn't jump on board the early days of the App Store. Does this feel like the early days of the App Store, where you can, if you're like your person, you just get this hardware and you just figure out a product and you make it, or does this feel like something where you already need to have some established product or good business plan, as you're saying, before you even jump on board, because you're probably going to lose money or it's going to be harder? Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like, is this? I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, it just came out, obviously, so it's probably too soon to tell. But it's hard. I don't have any gauge on the apps that have been released on whether or not they're flying off the virtual shelves or not.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, I don't know. Coming from someone who hasn't used it, this feels like still like when ARKit came out on the iPhone. It's like, oh, we're waiting for the next version of this thing.
This is the thing we were waiting for, though.
No, but I don't think it is. I think we're still waiting for that next thing.
Yeah, this is the thing that actually could use it.
I think that's kind of funny is like ARKit and by extension RealityKit both have been developed in separate kind of worlds, with the anticipation that at some point it's all going to relate to Vision OS, right? Somehow it would all come back together. And I think it's kind of like when it came back together, I think it was like, well, okay, now that we can reveal that this is a thing, they still haven't quite coagulated quite yet in terms of.
Well, I mean, there was the rumor that the glasses kind of version team was moved off of that for now to do a cheaper version of this. Who knows? But having cameras and screens in front of your eyeballs is definitely not, I think, what the original long-term intention is. I don't think Apple wants.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, they don't want to make a VR. They made VR goggles that have good pass-through. I think they want to make AR glasses, and they just can't. So this is the next best thing, and so I think maybe that's partly why the marketing so far it's a little bit weird. Like, the best things about it are actually more VR things, the immersion of movies or 3D and stuff. That's more of a VR thing, and the AR stuff is less useful because you have this big heavy thing on your face.
But I think they still want to do both. I think one of the things that makes this product very interesting is it starts in. It's the inverse of Meta, where I think Meta's proposition is much more like, we got all this cool VR stuff, and we can kind of do pass-through.
That's why Apple feels only semi-dystopian to me, and Meta feels very dystopian.
I mean, they're both coming at it from different angles, right? So, whereas, Apple's proposition is, we are much, you start off in sort of the AR experience, but then you kind of morph into VR depending on your circumstances.
This is why I was wondering, if Apple could make the glasses, right, then wouldn't that mean that actual optical glasses you'd see through the world and they have a projection? Wouldn't that mean you couldn't do the full VR immersion experience? And if this came out, since this came out first, and they're going to make iterations on this, users are going to be trained in this. This is going to be the expectation, this hybrid thing, which is more like VR with AR ability. than AR with like. I don't know how.
It's the thing, you got to buy both.
That's what I mean. Like, are we gonna have a time where we're gonna have to buy both? It'd be like the Apple Watch and the iPhone are two separate things that go together. You're gonna have the Vision Pro and like the Vision Air and the
it's like a whole new product category. You know,
it's gonna be another one. It's gonna have the two glasses. You got the glasses when you're walking around outside; they look like glasses, right. And then you got this Vision Pro thing at home
that keeps you home, and then you take those off and you put on your
glasses
when you go out.
We're joking, but that's probably the business plan.
I'm not joking.
I know Aaron's not joking.
This is what's happening.
You know, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Look, if Apple won't give multiple users to like this thing or to an iPad after how many years people have been wanting it, I could see them being like, yeah, just buy two different headsets for the difference. Because each device has its best use cases. You know, that's why they don't make touchscreen Macs, right? That's the argument.
That's the argument.
So for now, we probably wouldn't buy one right now unless we had a really good idea. But the catch-22 is we can't come up with a good idea without using one. So I guess Aaron and I just got to rely. Well, I will have to rely on Kotaro and Aaron because I think Aaron will eventually have access to one. But to rely on you guys, or maybe I can sell something. I can find something to sell, so I can get some money, buy one.
I think the challenge.
I don't even think I could sell my car for enough money to pay for this thing.
I think the challenge is figuring one of the things that's like if you're indie, you really have to think deeply. About a really good use case for this, and then B, because it's a different development environment.
Yeah, this is not. You still need a good Mac, and like this. You could, if you had to pick between this and like a MacBook Pro, like get a MacBook Pro. Like you can't do anything without the MacBook Pro. So you already have to have MacBook Pro, a good Apple Silicon. You have to have an Apple Silicon one, and then you buy this on top of that. And you're probably going to want that $300 strap because I don't know how well the wireless works.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine because you'll be doing it all in Vision Pro. It'll just feel like it's all natural.
Oh, I did see a clip of using, I guess, Playground app in Vision Pro that Hacking with Swift guy. Names escape me today.
Oh, Paul Hudson.
It's we're doing this at night, and that's why we're all confused. Paul Hudson did a demo. It was like, can you code in Swift? And it was the most awkward thing I've ever seen in my life. But technically, yes, you can in Playground, and it brought up the app, and it was cool. It was very cumbersome, but it was a glimpse of the future.
Autocomplete is amazing on that.
On Playgrounds, yes, it is.
Because you can only type like 2 words a minute.
If you guys haven't seen the Casey Neistat video, like that's the one he does all this crazy stuff, runs around with it. He does a scene where he stands on a stairwell. Like he wasn't blocking anybody. I think intentionally the camera, he was making sure no one was there. Yeah. But he stood on a stairwell, like leaving a subway, and he just started pecking at the virtual keyboard to write an iMessage. It was very funny.
Yeah.
That was like my favorite review.
At a time.
Yeah, that one and the Wall Street Journal, Joanna Stearns were my favorite ones because it actually showed like what you could do in real life today if you bought one besides watching movies. And the main one was cooking. Actually had some useful utilities in that one. Not a lot, not enough to buy $4,000 headset, but it was like useful.
Yeah.
You want to splash hot oil on your $4,000 headset?
See, Aaron's always here to just bring us back down to earth.
Aaron,
we get a little too hyped.
That's why I have that Apple cloth.
I'm trying to be positive after all my dystopian talk, and Aaron's here like,
somebody's gonna open the oven and melt their face.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Mean, that was the positive that Joanna Stern said, right? It's like I don't get onion, I don't cry.
Yeah, she didn't cry. Yeah. On the other hand, she gets too close to
onion juices
on the outside of it. Yeah. Oh my god, that's a good point. She better wash that thing appropriately, as it has some like cover on. It's glass with like a laminate, right? So it can get damaged. Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. And then if you get too close to a flame, does it melt pieces? I don't know. This is a good idea.
Goodness. Yeah.
Goodness.
Get that Apple Care.
Actually, it's the guy at the Apple Store said too. He's like, you should get that Apple Care.
Yeah, you should get that Apple Care.
He was like, this thing is really, this thing can be very expensive to repair. I think he's now. I'm not gonna say he was 100% accurate. He was trying to remember. He said to me that one of the most expensive repair might have been something like $2,800.
Yeah,
for like the most expensive type of, I don't know what it was, but if you completely smash a thing or something, I guess you can get a really expensive repair. Unless you have Apple Care, then it's like the deductible. So which is like $300 or $500 or something.
Yeah. They do like if you drop the if you're one of those clout people, you drop the
I can't watch those movies when they intentionally break things.
vision.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm like, I work too hard for my dollars. If I imagine myself buying one of these things, I can't watch someone intentionally destroy it. It's like no.
There was one video, they just like tapped on the lens on like the glass part, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
I wouldn't even do that. I'm not touching.
I know. I was like,
they told me to grab the thing from the front, and I felt bad about it because I'm like, I gotta touch the glass. But
I mean, one of the things that scares me a lot is like when you lift it, you have to be very careful of the way you hold it because like you don't hold it by the
No, you hold it like this. You hold it like this. This is the official Apple recommended way at the Apple Store. You put your thumb where the nose section is, and your fingers on the top, and you grip it from the front, and then that way you put it over top of your head.
Because the magnets are fine, but they are not strong.
You have to know how to pick it up. Like that was the very first thing they tell you to do, which is, and they're very explicit. Like, put your thumb here and your fingers here, and hold it here. Otherwise, you'll drop it. And I was like, okay.
There is totally a new. You're holding it wrong.
There is. All these smashed devices start showing up, and people are like, I was just picking it up, and it just fell on the ground. Like, well, you're holding it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so hopefully this was an entertaining episode. It got a little bit long.
Sure.
Long and short of it is, I think, for my opinion, is it's cool. It's mostly, I think, a toy right now. I'm not so sure how much utility you can get out of it right now, but that's going to be very specific to the software that you have access to and you're using and your situation.
Very interested,
but I'm interested
in what type of applications we could build, and much more in the sense of like artistic or video or something, or something creative.
And I mean, I think we, like the three of us, or even individuals, I guess we could build something even without all of us having a headset, as long as one person could test something.
Sure.
Once in a while, just like with the Apple lab, people did release software that when they didn't have dev kits, right?
Yeah.
They just went to a lab or something once in a while.
I think one of the things that I don't know if that's still a thing, but I think Apple did have a way so that when you push it up to test flight, they actually have some sort of way to test it against Apple. Like Apple will do the test for you.
You think they're still
to
doing
make
that?
sure that it's compatible? I don't know if it's still a thing.
Now they just expect you to spend $4,000 to buy buy the device. Like, you just, what are you guys doing? We're not going to do this for you. That was just for the early adopters. You missed out. Now you got to.
That's for the earliest.
That's the real Apple tax there. Yeah. So I don't know. So we're not sure about a particular product to build on this.
Right. But expect a lot of updates around doing mini side projects, because I think in our case it makes more sense to crawl before we walk, before we run.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I do expect this to rapidly get updates. I mean, if Apple is smart, and Apple's generally smart, I think they'll update this thing. I hope more often. I hope they update it at a different cadence than iOS even and iPad, because I feel like a year from now, or even WWDC, I don't think they're going to replace this hardware. WWDC, I think WWDC. It was all about software, but by then, I think the software will have been updated, and it'll be, really cool.
Yeah,
I mean even cooler than now. Yeah.
If I hope for anything, I do want some sort of like, you know how you have like on tap gestures or on long gestures, those type of modifiers that you can use to access the gestures. I want a ARKit equivalent of that, so I can say, is it pointing? Is it something that's a little more Vision OS specific as a modifier, but a hand gesture modifier of some kind. That's on my wish list for that next version. Yeah. But anyway, that's all we have for today. You can learn more about Philly Cocoa at phillycocoa.org. There you'll find links to our Slack group, meetup schedule, and contact info. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your podcast platform of choice is. And share us with all your developer friends. And one more thing. More programmer jokes.
Yes. Love these.
Oh, the hits keep on coming. So, Aaron, why will Google Chrome cause sheep to go extinct? It's on track to consume all the RAM in the world.
What? Are these human ones or Jippity ones? Chat Jippity ones?
Human ones. These are all human.
Okay.
Real humans came up with these jokes.
Real humans, huh?
Real humans.
Maybe the robot apocalypse is a positive thing.
To be fair, these are Reddit jokes, so who knows?
Oh, Reddit jokes. Yeah, we don't know what created these. Could have been aliens.
Here's another one. Steve, how did the computer process make so many child processes?
I don't know where this is going, but it sounds wrong.
A whole lot of forking.
Oh God, it was wrong.
I should have put a not safe for work kind of.
That was okay. That was on the line. It was like PG-13.
All right. Here's the last one.
A lot of forking. Goodness.
Remember our old database?
Yes.
It's getting a sequel.
Okay, that's a classic. I like it.
Till next time. Good luck on your own developer journey. We will cheer for you always.
I read that the first demo that Tim Cook had was apparently some giant monstrosity that kind of like put him inside and had cables running into another room or something. Is that real? Is that really what happened?
It's like a Johnny Mnemonic. Like, I don't know if you saw that movie. At like the end of the scene, at the end of the movie, they have him connected to that big monstrosity.
I want to see a photo of Tim Cook wearing that.